Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. All right, welcome everyone. We got a lot to cover. I want to talk a bit here in the beginning about Vivek Ramaswamy, okay? And I've seen this guy. I don't know how long have I seen him on TV. It seems like he's been on for like a year. But the last few months, you can't turn on the cable news or go on your Twitter feed without seeing something from Ramaswamy. And I know a lot of people, he's running for president. He loves to say that he's the first millennial running for president as a Republican. I've never known such a self-important generation as the millennials. they think they get this smile in their voice and they grin when they say they're a millennial, like But anyway, Ramaswamy. What I put in the title and in the thumbnail is very accurate to what I'm going to talk about, as all my thumbnails and titles are. I do not do clickbait. And I've not paid a lot of attention to Ramaswamy until the last couple of days. I see him around all the time. I've seen interviews with him. I've listened to him. But I didn't think too much of him until the last couple of days after this great Trump Supreme Court overturned affirmative action, and I've seen him out there responding to it. And there's a bit of an exchange between him and Joyless Reed that I'm from MSNBC, which I'm going to play some of in just a bit, including Ramaswamy's reaction. And the reason that Trump and MAGA need Ramaswamy is not to run as vice president. I'm not ready to run this guy for anything and vote for him, because I don't think we know a lot about him. I know he's got a background in the pharmaceutical industry, and he's responsible for the development of several medications, including some that are life-saving medications. So that's all a good thing. But I'm not ready to hand over the vice presidency or any other elected office to this guy. I just don't think we know enough about him. And, whoever Trump's vice president is in his second term, it is President Trump's last term. You only have 2 terms. So whoever the vice president is a little more important than typical vice presidents, because if there's someone good, they are a lock for the Republican nomination in 2028. And so we got to be very careful about who we pick as vice president, especially after the last one Trump had. Oh, my goodness. Pence, what a jerk he is. So anyway, but what Vivek Ramaswamy is offering, that the MAGA movement is missing, and we really are missing this type of person. Someone who can articulate the conservative and MAGA viewpoint on all these issues and do it in a way that's not so polarizing. And he gets on all the shows. He does very well. He handles himself well. He went on the Breakfast Club recently and cleaned their clocks, and he's very good. He's, in a way, he's the MAGA version of what Ann Coulter used to be for the Republican establishment in the 90s and the 2000s. He can articulate very well, in a very likable way, the MAGA viewpoint on all these issues and get that narrative going, not just on social media and online programs, but on television news as well. And that is something that the MAGA movement is missing big time. We don't have someone out there who is a pundit on television and popular on social media that articulates our points, that's not a polarizing individual. And Ramaswamy is a likable guy. I know Joy Reid and some liberals don't like him because he kicks their ass every time they have him on their shows, but he is a likable guy, and he makes our arguments for us very, very well. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let me play this clip of Joy Reid when she talks about how she couldn't have gotten into Harvard if it were not for affirmative action.
Well, let me just be clear. I got into Harvard only because of affirmative action. I went to a school no one had ever heard of in Denver, Colorado, in a small suburb. I didn't go to Exeter or Andover. I didn't have college test prep. I just happened to be really nerdy and smart and have really good grades and good SAT.
I got something to tell you, Joy Reid. You're still really nerdy, okay?
Scores. Right. But someone came to Denver, Colorado to look for me.
Now, what does this mean? Did someone from Harvard actually go to Denver, Colorado looking for Joy Reid? We heard of this nerdy girl in Denver, Colorado. Can we send somewhere looking for this nerdy girl? What is she talking about?
Harvard recruiter flew to Denver, and I met up with her at the Village Inn restaurant and did a pre-interview to get to pull me into Harvard. I was pulled in, and the schools like Harvard and Yale that I got into affirmatively. Yes. And it was literally not saying we're going to take an unqualified person and put them in Harvard. Yes. We're going to take a very qualified person who we would never know existed and put them in Harvard. That's how I got there. That's how Ketanji got there. That's how Justice Jackson, I should say, Justice Jackson got there. It's how Clarence Thomas got there. Right. But the minute I arrived from my majority black little town, Montbello in Denver, to Harvard, the first week or two that I was in class, my presence was questioned by white people. I was in this big conference class where some white students stood up and said, those students, the black students, they're only here because of affirmative action. It became a huge argument that we...
Okay, now I'm going to stop it there. I'll just stop. I'm not going to play any more Joy Reid, but this part I love. She starts by saying she only got into Harvard because of affirmative action. And then she implies that some people at Harvard that said, well, you're only here because of affirmative action, are that they're racist. Well, they were right. What they said about her was right. You Joy Reid, yourself said you only got into Harvard because of affirmative action. So if somebody points that out, why are they racist? Isn't that just an accurate statement? But anyway, I did an entire live stream on that yesterday. But I want to bring this up. So Ramaswamy came out in support of the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade, and he's done a lot of shows on this. And Joy Reid, who is terrified of Ramaswamy. See, Ramaswamy, there's no affirmative action there, that she could employ. If she has Ramaswamy on her program, they're there, and she can't do anything about it. There's no extra 10 or 20 points that are going to get her through the debate. So she has this joker on, and they're going to talk about Ramaswamy, and then I'll play a little bit of Ramaswamy. So instead of having Ramaswamy on, who would come on her show in a New York minute, New York second, whatever you want to, she's afraid, even though she's got the big Harvard education and all that. She's afraid, so she has somebody on to talk about Ramaswamy.
You'd had a back and forth on the Twitters with one Vivek Ramaswamy, who currently is boasting about getting, who was the only African...
Oh, no, I forgot. Now, Ro Khanna here that she's talking to is a Democrat congressman from California.
You'd had a back and forth on the Twitters with one Vivek Ramaswamy, who currently is boasting about getting, who was the only African-American anchor in this business before I joined him in prime at CNN, Don Lemon. He's boasting about getting him fired.
Well, yeah, I got news for you. There were black people all over television, network news, and everything else before you. She thinks that Don Lemon is the Neil Armstrong of blacks on network news, and that she's the Buzz Aldrin, she's number 2. She's pretty self-centered there. That is very inaccurate.
He thinks that is somehow going to be a big, flag for his run for president. Your thoughts on him? Because you've been back and forth with him online.
When he first started, I thought, okay, here's an Indian American, funny name, we disagree. Hopefully he makes a good showing or does something well. And
and what she's doing, what Joy Reid is doing here, is so racist. It's so racist. So we know she's afraid of Ramaswamy. I understand that. He's good and he's smart. He knows what he's doing. And so since she's afraid to have Ramaswamy on because he'll clean her clock, she brings on another Indian American to talk about him. Well, you're both Indian. You both are of it. Well, Ramaswamy's American. He was born in Ohio. Oh, yes, I am taking calls. Hey, caller, hang in there just a second. I'll get you in a moment. So she's afraid of Ramaswamy, but because someone else is also of Indian descent, she thinks it's okay to bring on someone of Indian descent to talk about him because he's of Indian descent, Ramaswamy, even though he's from Ohio. You want to talk about racial stereotyping and racism. You're seeing it right here with Joy Reid. Hey, caller, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, Jessica, Delaware.
Hey, Jessica,
Hi.
What is up?
Hi. I guess we call ourselves the post-duopoly left.
I don't know what that means.
People, you know what that means?
I do not know what that means. No idea.
It means we feel that it's a uniparty, and we are on the left,
yes,
but we also agree with a lot of things the right are saying,
mm-hmm,
and we don't align with the people like AOC and that kind of stuff.
Oh, good. The communist, the socialist.
So anyway, I was going to tell you, a lot of us on this side, a lot of black people that I've been hearing that I listen to, they feel that this is an elite argument, that this doesn't affect them.
What's an elite argument? What is an elite? What doesn't affect them? What
Affirmative
issue?
action. Affirmative action. They're just saying it never benefited them anyway.
Yeah.
So they don't even really care about it. Like, they're just kind of making this an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I just want to tell you. But
So
hold on, I have one other thing to tell you.
I agree with you that there's a uniparty. You say you agree with conservatives on a lot of things. What do you disagree with MAGA conservatives? What do MAGA conservatives like me, what do we support that you disagree with?
I believe in a social safety net. I believe, I feel like
what does that mean? Like welfare and things? Trump's not against that. Republicans aren't against that.
Well, a lot of times though, because you do down talk people, what's his name, Liberal Al.
Liberal Al's a bum.
Who had a surgery.
Yeah, it's on a deviated septum.
Yeah, but that can upset your sinuses.
Listen, I have a deviated septum, and I'm a professional broadcaster, and I've never gotten surgery to correct my deviated septum.
But you don't know why he had it. There could have been more.
Yeah, I know why he had it, because he's got nothing else to do. Because he's a bum. He's got nothing else. See, the reason I've not had my... No, hold on a second here. I'm glad you brought this up. So Liberal Al, the John, who we call him that because he once admitted that he had sex with a prostitute that his brother-in-law paid for while on a trip to Costa Rica. But he had a deviated septum surgically repaired. I have a deviated septum, and I've never had it repaired, and I'm a professional broadcaster. Now, I told you that he had his deviated septum fixed because he's got nothing else to do and he's a bum. Why do you think I have never had my deviated septum surgically repaired?
I have one too, and I never had it repaired.
Well, why do you think I haven't? Why do you think I haven't?
Because you have to work.
That's right. I got to work. If I had my deviated septum surgically repaired, I got to miss a lot of work, and I'm on the air every day. I don't have time to go out and have elective surgery like Liberal Al, who's a bum. So yeah,
but how do you know he's a bum?
I've been on the air for over 30 years. And he's been a listener of mine since I've been on the air, and has come to appearances of mine, and has been calling me for 30 years on the air. So I know a little bit more about him than I would know.
You do say things that really trigger me, but like Steve Bannon, it sounds really weird. I love Steve Bannon. I think he is. I know he's totally to the right, but I agree with most of what
I love Steve Bannon too. But what are some things I say that trigger you?
I can't think right now, but my boyfriend, he listens to in the morning sometimes, and he gets triggered.
Your boyfriend gets triggered?
A lot of stuff about black people.
I
know
say?
You have the mixed daughter, and she's beautiful, but I just want to tell you
What do I say about black people that are triggering to you or your boyfriend?
I can't think specifically right now.
I mean, I have a very high opinion of black people. Yeah, I can't. I mean, maybe I don't have some. You know.
Yeah, I don't think you're racist, but some of the stuff I think you say is prejudice.
Like what? Prejudice means prejudge. Give me an example of something I've said that you believe is prejudice.
The shooting in the black community.
What about it?
That conversation with that the one guy who was saying.
You're talking about in Baltimore over the week. You're talking about the block party shooting in Baltimore.
No, I'm talking about there was a caller that you had that was talking about the gun violence in the black community, and he lived in Florida. It was referring to Ron DeSantis' gun law. And you're saying because he's a law-abiding citizen, he's never been shot. But I mean, that's kind of not.
Oh yeah, he's talked about racist police, and I'd asked him, well, he's black in America, been black his whole life. Has he ever been shot by a police officer? And he said no. So what does that? Yeah.
If you live in a high crime area, how many stray shootings are there where there's a lot of gun violence? I mean, there's kids that.
Well, if you live in a high crime area where kids are getting shot and stuff, you move out.
But some people don't have that luxury.
Sure, if you're poor on welfare and Section 8 housing, there's Section 8 housing everywhere. You can move. Sure.
But does a kid have a choice to move?
Well, then they have parents that are unfit parents, and maybe they should be taken away from these parents who have them living in high crime areas where people get shot, like the South Side of Chicago. Maybe it's child abuse.
It's more complicated than that. I'm a social worker.
It's not complicated.
A
A social worker. Oh my God, a bleeding heart liberal, a
Wait,
liberal
I tell you one thing,
do-gooder.
Ryan?
Yeah.
Before we hang up, you have me blocked for some reason on here, and I don't know why, because I listen to you all the time. I don't say anything like bad. I don't know why I'm blocked.
If you're blocked, how am I talking to you?
You have me blocked on this thing where I can't write in the chat.
If
they
you're
even know me in the chat. What's that?
Sometimes, I haven't blocked someone in ages, but sometimes when someone goes to block someone in the chat's moving so fast, the wrong person on occasion gets blocked.
Okay, because I was telling you something about Max Blumenthal.
I don't know. I'll tell you what. Send me a DM on.
I sent it to you on Twitter. I sent it to you.
Do it to me again. Do it to me again. Okay. DM me right after this call, and give me your YouTube screen name, and I'll go and see if you're blocked. And if you're on the block list, I'll unblock you. All right.
All right.
All right. Do that. Take care. All right. Oh my goodness. Oh, my goodness. A liberal do-gooder. That's right, a social worker. So anyway, let me get back to this. So we'll get to, and if you'd like to call in, please do. We're taking calls live on the stream. Same number I use every other day of the week, 888-465-2631. So anyway, Joy Reid, she's afraid of Ramaswamy, so she brings another Indian American on to talk about him.
It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, Joy. My phone blew up with other Indian Americans saying, make it clear he doesn't speak for us. To sit there lecturing a black man about black history was totally uncalled for. And then he didn't have all his historical facts. I mean, the Indian
Okay, so they're talking about the exchange that Ramaswamy had with Don Lemon that very well may have led to Don Lemon's removal from CNN. And, what happened with Ramaswamy and Don Lemon was this. Don Lemon was getting his clock clean like everybody else who's a liberal who challenges Ramaswamy because he's very good in debate. He knows what he's talking about, and he's on the right side of the issues because he's a Republican, right? He's conservative. And what happened with Don Lemon is he went to his knee-jerk reaction when debating a Republican. Well, I'm black, you don't understand, white, you don't understand, And he used this knee-jerk habit response defense mechanism of Don Lemon's on a guy who's not white, and he looked like an idiot. That's what happened. Hey there, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is me, Richie. Good morning.
Hey.
Happy 4th of July to you and your family.
Thank you. Richie, the bus driver.
The lady that just called up. Now I'm glad I got the opportunity.
The social worker.
To respond. And yeah, you don't need help. But I'm gonna. I hope she's still listening.
Sure, she is.
I'll tip her off. Brian, when it comes to Afro-American people, he's the furthest thing from racist you can imagine. So is Steve, by the way. And the fact of the matter is they are very unique because they will actually have conversations with blacks that actually hate whites.
Yes.
And they'll try a dialogue with these people. And if anything, they expose the racism and the prejudice against white people that a lot of black people have. I've given you this story before where I drove a bus in Fort Lauderdale. I'm Caucasian. I didn't have a white person on the bus, and all I heard was cracker this and cracker that, and how the white guy is this bad, and they were basically lower class Afro-American people in poorer neighborhoods like this lady talked about. But they were so prejudiced against whites. And I had to sit there and shut up because I feared if I opened my mouth, I could get killed out there. So I just shut up and listened. I even said in my driver's room where one morning there were 18 black drivers and 3 white drivers, and they were talking about the poor black man in this country, and most of them made more money than I did because they worked a lot of overtime. They had beautiful homes. They didn't live in black neighborhoods, but here they are. And I said, "What are you kidding me?" I said, "You people," and they said, "What do you mean, you people?" Right
you people! Oh my goodness, that's like the N word, Richie. Big mistake. You people.
Yeah, you're making more money. Yes. You're making more money than I make. You have a job just like I do. My father was just a postal worker, a letter carrier. My mother worked with a telephone company. You stereotype every white person like they're rich and they control the United States. I says, we're not all rich. We're not all the same. I said, you're no different than I am. Matter of fact, you're probably better because you got better houses. I was living in a small condo in Hollywood.
Yeah, said, and those ladies are probably better drivers because they've got those long Freddy Krueger-like fingernails and they still drive those buses.
Yeah, fingernails with multicolor things
exactly.
with diamonds on them and gold.
Oh my goodness!
But I'm listening to all this. And I'm saying, that's the problem. Brian confronts him. If you don't agree with what they say, all of a sudden you're racist. And if
yesterday's show, like if you didn't watch my show yesterday, it's the one on Joy Reid's Affirmative Action Made Me is on the thumbnail. I talked to some black liberal callers. They've never had a white person have a conversation with them as an equal.
No.
Typically, when white people are talking about issues involving racial things in this country and they're talking to a black person, they talk down to the black person and tell them what they want to hear because they're afraid they'll be called a racist. And those black callers I talked to, they suck up to them. Even conservatives and those black men that I talked to yesterday, it was the first time they had someone actually treat them as an equal in a conversation in their entire lives, and they don't even realize it. They hate me for it.
Yeah, the guy from New York, it amazes me. Reparations. I wanted to tell him, you know how much money you get from me for reparations? You wouldn't even make enough money from me to get a roll of toilet paper. I don't think one black person in this country deserves reparations.
No, of course not.
Because, like you said, how many soldiers, white American soldiers, died in the Civil War? They gave their blood. That they don't need to give their money.
That's right.
And we don't have anything to do with that. We have nothing to do with that. I have to say this, and I hope people don't take this wrong. I feel that slavery was the curse of this country because what's happened here is this. It was wrong to start with. It was a terrible thing to happen. It did happen, and we have never been forgiven for it. They keep on throwing it in our face 24/7, race pimps on CNN, on MSNBC. That's all you get all the time. You even had a president throw it in our face. That a white man's greed is a people in need is a white man's greed. This was the president of the United States.
That's what Obama said. That's a quote from his book. Yeah, a white man's world in need is a white man's greed, or it was one of those things.
Greed, yeah, that's exactly it. So the bottom line is we are cursed with the curse of slavery, and they'll never let us live it down. They'll never forget it, and they'll always call this country a racist country, even though it isn't a racist country anymore. And you can't legislate the heart. I told you that yesterday on the phone. Laws do not change a person's heart. You know what changes a person's heart? Actions. And when you start seeing street riots and drive-by shootings in all black communities, you, as a white man, you say, geez, I'm glad I don't have to live there.
That's right.
And it doesn't show well for the black community. They have to police their own neighborhoods.
I mean, look at this block party that's going on with this shooting they had over the weekend in Baltimore. That's already disappeared from the news because we know the shooters are African American, the victims are African American, and liberal media doesn't care if the shooter was white or shooters. It'd be a national discussion going on right now.
4 people in Philly yesterday killed too. 4.
That's right.
Now I don't know if they were black, but guess what? I assume that they are black.
It's Philadelphia.
Because when you hear about when you hear about drive-by shootings in the inner city, you assume I'm from the Bronx. You can't walk the streets in the Bronx at night. You cannot walk the streets.
We don't have a lot of drive-bys here in Palm Beach. Hey, Richie, take care. Thanks for the call, man. All right, now if you'd like to call in, it's toll free, 888-465-2631. Let me get back to Ramaswamy. And just to recap, what I was telling you, the reason that MAGA needs Ramaswamy is he goes out there and makes the MAGA case on all the issues. He's very good. And we don't have a lot of really nice, likable guys like Ramaswamy that are out there making the case for MAGA. And I'll just give you a little example here. This is him responding to Joyless Reed and affirmative action and all that.
In the Dred Scott case, Chief Justice Taney held for the Supreme Court that black people could not be citizens before the Civil War because that would allow them to own guns. After the Civil War, the first anti-gun laws, gun control laws that were passed in this country were actually passed to stop black people from owning guns.
That's right.
These are some of the facts that I educated Don Lemon on set in a heated exchange that we had shortly before his firing. So shortly after that exchange, Joy Reid, an MSNBC host, has Ro Khanna, a Democratic politician who happens to be an Indian American, as a stand-in for the Indian American view, criticizing me for supposedly stating falsehoods. Actually, everything I stated is factually true based on U.S. history, but criticizing at length my supposed falsehoods, and then has Ro Khanna effectively licking her feet, which is exactly what she wanted on air, talking about how Indian Americans owe black Americans a debt of gratitude. So I thought it was remarkable that here's a TV host, supposedly who wants to engage in open debate about my views on this post-Civil War history, who's talking about me on air extensively to another Indian American second-rate stand-in, but won't talk to me directly. So I made an offer. I said, if you want to have a debate about this, if you think that your recounting of the post-Civil War history is any different than mine, let's have that debate in the open. What do we get? Silence. This is what the modern left does, and Joy Reid embodies it. Very well, actually. Cower in fear and hide. Talk a big game when you're talking to your own community, when you're talking to the people who agree with you, but cower in fear when it comes to actually confronting the other side in open debate.
That's right.
Now, more recently, she was spouting off about affirmative action after the Supreme Court came down with its ruling.
Here we go.
Saying that she would not have gotten into Harvard without affirmative action. I believe her. I think that's probably true. But then she also complained that she was judged negatively by her peers because she got in based on affirmative action. I actually said that that's wrong. It's wrong to black Americans. It's wrong to Asian Americans or white Americans who are discriminated against.
Hello?
But it's even unfair
hold
to
on,
black
caller.
Americans,
I'll be right
many
with you.
of whom I went to school with, who would have gone in meritocratically anyway.
Hey, hold on.
It's unfair that they're judged that way. So I said so. And then Joy Reid again, classic pattern, talking about me instead of to me, says that, oh, Vivek Ramaswamy also wouldn't have gotten into Harvard but for affirmative action. That is a lie, and it reflects a shocking combination of gall and ignorance.
Now, okay, hold on. See what I'm talking about with Vivek Ramaswamy? He makes such a great case. Joy Reid assumes because he's not white, he only got into college because of affirmative action. And he's making a great case against affirmative action. What a terrible thing it is. The MAGA movement, the one thing we're missing are people like him on television, online, confronting these snakes, calling them out, and making our case. We just don't have enough of those people, and that's why I say MAGA needs Ramaswamy. Hey, caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Barbara in Baltimore.
Hey, Barbara, what's up?
Well, I'm in South Carolina right now.
Oh, still, you haven't left since the rally.
No, I have. I'm leaving today. I'm heading south. I was going to come down to Florida, but I don't think I can take the heat this time of year, coming down all the way down there.
It's hot.
But in any event, I like Vivek. I really do, and I agree with you 100% that we need people like him to really go up against these left-wing lunatics, because he's right. As a black person, I'm very happy that affirmative action is over. And I know exactly what your previous call, I think it was Richie. My father was a bus driver in New York. So I know what he's talking about. I've met more racist black people than white people in my entire life. And I've met most of them since I moved to Baltimore, because we were military, so we traveled a lot of places until my husband retired here. But the racism against white people by black people is unbelievable to me, because I grew up in New York. I grew up in a melting pot, so it's hard to understand how embedded it is living in a state like Maryland. Maryland was a slave state, so I mean it's part of history. And what they're doing now with all this
in fact, Frederick Douglass was a slave in a household in Baltimore, if I remember correctly. You know, where you're calling from. You know, this is the thing, okay? And this is very politically incorrect, but I'm going to say it. Most black people in this country, at least the liberal ones, are racist. And what's happened, they don't like white people at all. And what's happened is this critical race theory and this new brand of liberalism gives them justification for their racism. Like they feel that being a racist is justified, and they're very out of the closet about it. And what they don't realize is with the skin colors reversed, they're talking just like the Klan used to talk in the 30s or
Absolutely.
the 1920s.
And black people like myself, conservatives like myself, I mean, they call me a racist, call me a white supremacist. I get called the same names. So all of it really doesn't mean anything. People just have to take it in stride, and hopefully over time, because in the black community, if we don't overcome this culture of violence, because there were also shootings in Philadelphia and Fort Worth.
That's right.
So the culture of violence has to be eliminated, and that's going to be the beginning of it, healing the family.
Absolutely.
And I just love that I love your shorts. I love that you pick. You know, I get notified anytime you're on, so I'm just so happy that you're doing that. And
well, I appreciate it. Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks so much. From Baltimore, take care. Yeah, I took today off on the radio because I, figured I deserve a day off. And how many people are in their cars listening to the radio on the 4th of July, right? So I don't take very many days off, but I took today off from going to the radio station. The radio station, a bit of a drive to and from the house. So, but I'm here with you guys now, and thanks, everyone. You're all welcome to call in. Now, I want to tell you guys about the mighty MAGA Lion, which is absolutely amazing. My wife, Kathy, and I have teamed up with Dee, who's one of our moderators in the chat, and we have designed and had made the mighty MAGA Lion. And does he not look like Trump? This is, of course, President Trump. Got his MAGA hat on, 45 on the side. And this lion is exclusively available through us at MightyMAGALion.com. MightyMAGALion.com. This is going to be the hottest Christmas gift this year. And I know, isn't it cool? The idea of the lion was mine. And then my wife got together with Dee, and they had these made. So go to MightyMAGALion.com and order yours, and it's a great way for you to support the program and all my content as well. MightyMAGALion.com. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello,
this is Dave from This is Dave from Newmarket, Virginia.
Hey, Dave, what's up?
Well, I was listening to you talking about the slavery, and they've just slavery's still here. They're slaving children now.
Yeah, through the southern border. There's an entire, through the southern border, there's all kinds of slavery. There's labor slavery going on with adults and children, and there's also sex slavery going on with adults and children, brought to you by the Biden administration and the cartels through our southern border. Absolutely. It's a modern-day slave trade that is really... It's a national embarrassment.
Yes. Well, happy 4th of July. And
well, thank you.
Good to talk to you again, Brian.
Well, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Kim, thanks for that 20-pound super chat. Thank you so much. Now, Jen Psaki, I wanted to play this with Jen Psaki. A lot of people are talking about this, and she dropped something which is just not true that I wanted to share. Yes, MightyMAGALion.com, guys. Order yours. That's right. That's right. So this is Jen Psaki, who certainly is guilty of cultural appropriation. She has taken the last name of the Japanese alcohol, sake, and she's made that her last name. And, when you put together her first name, Jen Psaki, first and last name after two different types of alcohol, that sounds like the name of a stripper. But anyway, Jen Psaki, listen to this.
So lately I've been noticing the reemergence of a very old GOP playbook that harkens back to President Richard Nixon's infamous Southern strategy. During his campaign for president in 1968, the Republican Party made a concerted effort to reach white Southerners who used to vote for Democrats by playing to their fears of African Americans and the civil rights movement. And it worked. By pitting one group of Americans against another, the GOP successfully managed to split off Southern whites from the Democratic Party.
Now, first off, what an interesting pause place. I left it there. Okay, before I get to the rest of this, because the rest of it's what everyone's talking about, what she just said is just one of the biggest lies told of American history. The Southern strategy, and the liberals, they talk about this. They've written books about it. They have, I'm sure Joy Reid took a class on it at Harvard, that Nixon's Southern strategy. And what they claim is that Nixon had this Southern strategy, that there were a bunch of white Democrats in the South that were very upset because Johnson had led the Democrat Party establishment to support the civil rights movement. None of that is true. None of that is true. In fact, the Dixiecrats ran a candidate in that election against Nixon in '68 and took those votes. The Southern strategy did not exist. But Jen Psaki, they're saying that Richard Nixon went out there and catered a message in the South to racist white Democrats and got them to vote Republican. How did he do that? It's not true. He didn't do it. But how do they suggest he do? How did Richard Nixon go to the South and get the vote of these racist white Democrats to vote Republican? How could he have done that? Well, the only way he could have done that is if he started giving speeches and interviews against the civil rights movement and saying negative racist things against blacks. But have you ever seen a clip, a speech, a quote in his voice of Richard Nixon saying racist things in 1968? Have you? No, because it's not true. There was no Southern strategy of Richard Nixon. He did not have a Southern strategy, and he did not cater a message to white Democrat racists. If he did, there would be all kinds of footage of him in that campaign saying racist things. And I've never seen anything racist said by Richard Nixon. And believe me, the liberals would have it all over the place. Now, I'm not calling Jen Psaki a liar. She's been educated in this liberal education system that teaches people lies, and she believes what she is saying is true. She's just misinformed and uneducated as to the reality. But anyway, let's get into this.
Now, decades later, the right wing is reviving that same playbook, this time with Muslim Americans and trans people. Hear me out here. The GOP is trying to recruit Muslim Americans, a community that makes up less than 2% of the U.S. population, against another tiny marginalized group of Americans, transgender people. It's important to remember that back in 2011, during the Republican primary, the right wing had designated Muslim Americans as public enemy #1. No surprise, given that conspiracy theorists, remember the birthers? I do. Had been trying for years to portray President Obama as a Trojan horse for Sharia law. Republican after Republican candidate ginned up fear about the fabricated threat posed by an Islamic legal doctrine debated by scholars for centuries. To them, the imaginary prospect of Sharia law in this country was scarier than gun violence, climate change, and more important to discuss than, say, millions of people who didn't have health care.
I do not believe in Sharia law in American courts. I believe in American laws in American courts.
If we think that there is an undermining now, just wait. If Sharia is adopted or utilized by justices in the United States.
Accepting Sharia in the United States would be the end of our civilization as we know it. No jurisdiction will tolerate having Sharia imposed in the United States of America.
Okay, now that was a real fear at the time. You know, you're talking about the post 9/11 world, and what liberals did after 9/11 is what they always do when things happen. They blame America for it. They were blaming America for the attacks, and they were trying to bring radical Muslim Americans into the political fold, and they were talking about things like Sharia law. Now, back to what I was talking about with this fake Southern strategy that she's saying that the Republican Party under Nixon did in 1968. Richard Nixon not only did not run a campaign going after white racist Democrats, George Wallace in 1968 ran as a third-party Dixiecrat candidate, George Wallace. And George Wallace is very famous. He's the guy who said, segregation now, segregation forever. You guys know that quote. George Wallace ran a third-party candidate against Nixon in 1968, and he's the one that got those white racist votes. But anyway, back to this.
The end of our civilization as we know it, he says. Of course, there was no chance Sharia law was going to be implemented in the United States.
That's not true.
Now, Trump's origin story is the birther movement is a part of that. But all of this also set the stage for him to make this declaration as a candidate in 2015.
Okay. Now, this birther thing, see, Jen Psaki, who worked for Obama, her show is tanking like everything else on MSNBC. Even though MSNBC is beating Fox News in the ratings during many day parts, including primetime, it doesn't mean their viewership is growing on MSNBC. They're just, people are leaving Fox News. They're not going to MSNBC. But she's doing all this virtue signaling that's going out there. They're calling Trump a birther. When Obama became president, this thing about the birth certificate, do you guys know who started that? This birther movement asking for Obama's birth certificate. She says that that's what Donald Trump came out of. That's not true. Donald Trump's been involved in things as long as I can remember. The birth certificate question about Barack Obama was started by Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign during the Democrat primaries in 2008 when she was running against Barack Obama. It was Hillary Clinton's own campaign who started asking for the birth certificate. So the birth of birtherism is the Democrat Party and Hillary Clinton. Okay, very important stuff. I know they want to blame Trump for it. Now, Trump did get Obama to produce a birth certificate, and he did produce a birth certificate, a document that he sent people to Hawaii to get and all this stuff. But Hillary Clinton is the one who is the founder of birtherism with Obama. But they all forget all this revisionist history.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
Now, fast forward
Now, if you remember that very short clip there, there had been terrorist attacks. That was 8 years ago. There were still a lot of problems. We had the Muslim Spring going on, and there were terrorists who were coming in regularly, and there was a lot going on at the time during Muslim Spring and everything, and the rise of ISIS that he was responding to. So she's missing all the context.
8 years, and the right wing has focused their fear-mongering on trans people. And who better to go after the new enemy than the old enemy? Consider this from 2015.
We cannot be the warehouse of all these, Muslim people coming from these far-flung lands where, we're just not going to be able to control who becomes radicalized, who doesn't, because of technology. It's impossible.
Okay. Now, again, at this time, this was after, when the Bush-Cheney war crimes administration started it, but Obama expanded. With the collapse of the Middle East, there was a mass exodus, mostly young men who were flying to the United States, coming to this country. And, of course, the Obama administration was welcoming them. So that's the context into which all these clips that she's playing out of context came from.
Now, if you can believe it, Laura Ingraham is rallying Muslims against books in schools with LGBTQ plus themes.
Us Catholics and other Christians, other people of faith have been waiting for the Muslims to step up on this issue.
In an interview later with Semaphore, Laura Ingraham's guest, who you just saw on the screen, couldn't believe how ironic this all is. He said, quote, 5 years ago, Laura was saying we shouldn't have Muslims in this country.
That's not true. Okay, there have been Muslims in this country since its founding. She did not say we shouldn't have Muslims in this country. We had beginning a mass immigration movement, much like at the southern border, of Muslims coming to this country. They were fleeing into the EU too. That's why France is going through what they're going through today. And this unchecked immigration of Muslims is what Laura Ingraham and President Trump and Newt and everybody else were talking about at the time. Not that we shouldn't have Muslims in this country. Now, at this point, Jen Psaki is knowingly lying, okay? The Southern strategy, she's just uninformed, uneducated, and stupid. But on this, she's knowingly a liar here on all of this. She knows what I'm telling you guys.
Now she's saying, thank God the Muslims are here. Just to summarize, the right-wingers, the conspiracy theorists, the birthers, they now want us to forget the years they spent fear-mongering about Muslims and Islam. 10 years ago, standing against Sharia law was the key GOP litmus test. Now that litmus test seems to be how fervently you oppose transgender people. Just listen to what Trump himself had to say about that. Even he doesn't exactly know why he's attacking them.
It's amazing how strongly people feel about that. You see, I'm talking about cutting taxes. People go like that. Talk about transgender. Everyone goes crazy. Who would have thought 5 years ago you didn't know what the hell it was?
So what you just heard in that video, that sounds an awful lot like and reminiscent of what George Wallace, a staunch segregationist, once told a news.
By the way, George Wallace, the Democrat that I was telling you about, George Wallace, the racist segregationist Democrat who got those white Southern racist votes that Jen Psaki says that Nixon got.
A staunch segregationist once told a newspaper editor, quote, you know, I tried to talk about good roads and good schools and all of these things that have been part of my career and nobody listened. And then I began talking about black people and they stomped the floor. So let's be clear. This is the same old GOP playbook. Another cynical ploy to tear at the fabric of our society and damage the idea that out of many, we are one.
Okay, out of many. So the fabric of our society, according to Jen Psaki, is, of course, transgender people. Well, if that's the fabric of American society, we are in big trouble. Now, there's a couple of stories I want to get into that are very good and very, very important. By the way, if you're new to my channel, this is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you subscribe. And everyone who is here with me on this 4th of July morning, make sure you like the video, too. I would appreciate that. And hold on, there's an article here I'm looking for that I want to share with you that is a good one. Hold on. See if I can find it. I had it here. Why can't I find it now? I hate when that happens. Don't you guys hate when that happens? I know I tweeted the article. Let's see here. Oh, yes. Yes. This one. A suspicious substance was found at the White House. Interesting. Huh. With the Washington Monument in the background, the American flag flies at half-staff over the White House. That's right, in there, that picture there. And this mysterious substance is believed to be cocaine. And I'm watching this discussion about it that's going on in the news, and I read several articles about it. They're trying to figure out how the cocaine got there. In fact, I read one story today that said that this mysterious white substance that appears to be cocaine was found in the residence. Well, Hunter was just there. He flew off for 4th of July with Daddy-O, but yeah, the big guy, Pops, but Hunter was there. That's where the cocaine came. I mean, these people, they're out of their mind. You know, could you imagine if cocaine was found in the residence of the Trump White House? What they would say, what they would do. Are you kidding me? They would be all over it. And you know what? They'd be right to do it. I don't want cocaine in the White House. I don't care if it's a Republican. And for them to actually speculate on how the cocaine got there like they don't know. Everyone knows how the cocaine got there. Hunter Biden brought the cocaine, all right? Hunter Biden brought the cocaine to the White House, and I'm unclear if it was in a little bag or if he left some on a mirror. I don't know. If he had a hooker and they found her in bed with the cocaine on her back, I don't know. But I do know this, that the cocaine that they found in the White House was there because Hunter Biden brought it in and left it there. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't even know why this is up for speculation. Anyone who speculates on how cocaine got into the residence of the White House is just a damn liar. Everyone knows it. And that's a big problem, you know. That's a big, big problem. And what do you guys think about that? How did this story become public? You think this is the first time Hunter has had illegal drugs in the White House? Of course not. You know, this goes back to everything that Joe has been dealing with. Biden has had the bribe thing come out, right? The $10 million bribes, the bank accounts, this, all the other things. The same deep state that's after Trump are after Joe Biden. They want Joe Biden to drop out of the race. And all these things that are becoming public, the $10 million bribe with the bank account information, with the source that had the document with all that information, the cocaine in the White House this week. This is all the deep state using the information that they keep on Joe Biden to keep control of him to try to get him to announce that he will not run for re-election. Okay? And the longer he drags this out, the more dirt is going to come out about the Bidens. That's what this is all about, guys. And it's so interesting that you've got the same people after Trump that are after Joe right now for different reasons, huh? Now, guys, the 4th of July, there is a huge sale going on at MyPillow.com right now. And a great way to support my content, everything I bring to you, is go to MyPillow.com and buy something with my promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. Now, you can take advantage of all the specials at MyPillow.com with my promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, no matter what it says. I mean, look at this. The 6-piece MyPillow towel set, normally $99.98, just $29.98 with my promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. Kathy and I, we have these blue ones here at the top and also the white ones, and we love them. Yeah, just $29.98, normally $99.98 for the entire 6-piece MyPillow towel set with my promo code KANE. Great specials. This is a big one. I don't talk about the mattresses very often, and this is an incredible special. This is the best special, biggest discount that I've ever seen at MyPillow.com on their mattresses. With my promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, 50% off all MyPillow mattresses, plus another $100 off on top of that. They have both foam and coil mattresses, all kinds of mattresses, and every mattress size available for your bed. 50% off, plus another $100 on top of that, and free shipping on orders of $150 or more. So that is a really good deal, and of course, you're supporting all of my content when you do that. The MyPillow My Slippers, this is amazing, as low as $25 with my promo code KANE at checkout. And you can see they have some new colors here. This blue, this is this color here. I don't know if that's pink or purple, but that's a new color for the ladies. And they have a lot of new sizes, smaller for the ladies, bigger and kids, bigger and wider for the men. But again, you can take advantage of all the specials at MyPillow.com, no matter what it says, with my promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E. But if you need a new mattress, this is the time to do it. This is the lowest price ever, and this, again, is on all of the MyPillow mattresses. But this is a July 4th mattress sale. So this could go away as soon as they're back in the office. So go to MyPillow.com, order yours with my promo code KANE at checkout, K-A-N-E, 50% off, plus another $100. That's a great discount. All right, guys, I would appreciate that. It helps me out a lot. Well, it looks like we're in the final days of the DeSantis campaign. Here's another article. Look at this. The spokesman for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' super PAC gave a frank assessment of the 2024 race, admitting we are way behind and calling Donald Trump the runaway frontrunner. Steve Cortez, who jumped ship off the Trump train, snake. Steve Cortez, a former Trump surrogate, who is now the spokesman for DeSantis' Never Back Down PAC, participated in a Twitter Spaces discussion Sunday night with the anonymous Twitter user Crypto Loirez. Oh, okay. Cortez said he switched to Team DeSantis because he believed the governor was more electable than Trump, but that if he makes it out of that's if he makes it out of the Republican primary, which ain't going to happen. He's so far behind. Right now, this is Cortez talking. Right now in national polling, we, meaning DeSantis, are way behind. I'll be the first to admit that, Cortez said. I believe in being blunt and honest. It's an uphill battle, but clearly Donald Trump is the runaway front runner. That's right. Cortez said he believed the primary, which has attracted at least 11 mainstream Republican candidates, was really down to two people, Trump and DeSantis. He said that DeSantis was the clear underdog in the first 4 states, which matter tremendously. Polls are a lot tighter. We are still clearly down, he said. We're down double digits. We have work to do. It's hopeless. It's hopeless for them right now. In Iowa, the state that holds the first GOP caucus, Trump currently has a 21.3% advantage over DeSantis, according to the Real Clear Politics polling average. Let me see what comes up there. Let's see here. They have Trump and the Emerson poll at 62 and DeSantis at 20 in Iowa. Look at that. Trump has a 42-point lead in the Emerson poll in Iowa. That's amazing, 42. They give us the best possible scenario. They bring in some other polls to bring the number down. But even when they average it out, he's still double digits ahead. In South Carolina, DeSantis performs a little better. Trump is still beating him by 19.7. That's in their average. There hasn't been significant public polling done yet for Nevada, they say, and it goes on and on. But what we're seeing now, if you notice, is it's the beginning of the end for the Ron DeSantis campaign. This is the second day in a row that there have been stories like this. So they're building up to for the dropout. Now, I was talking on the podcast, my podcast, the Brian Craig Show podcast, which I co-host with my wife, Kathy, is available on all podcast platforms, and I also upload it here on my YouTube channel. But last night I was telling my wife, Kathy, on our podcast that here we are, we're in hurricane season right now in Florida, and it's raining every day. And during hurricane season, if we get a major hurricane, that is what DeSantis is going to use as an out. And in a way, the hurricane hitting Florida is his best hope to save his political career. Because if we have a major hurricane and he has to come and do some cleanup and organize things like the one we had last year on the Gulf Coast of Florida, that gives him the excuse, well, I gotta help the people of Florida. I don't have time to run. That gives him the out that he wants. And if that doesn't happen, he could also use his wife's health issue because she's had cancer in the past. But he's really in a bad spot. He has destroyed himself, and he allowed himself to be hijacked by these snakes, the Jeb Bushes, the George Bushes, and the Karl Roves, and the Paul Ryans, and all these low-life traitors, and they've destroyed him. But in a way, they did us a favor because we were all fooled. We didn't know that he was fake MAGA. And now, guess what? Not only do we know he's fake MAGA, everyone knows it, and it's over for Ron DeSantis. He is unelectable forever, and it's only a matter of time before he drops out. Now, if you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe. I have the most pro-Trump content you will find anywhere. I love President Trump. I never disagree nor criticize the greatest president ever, Donald Trump. And, and a lot of people think, well, if you don't ever criticize or disagree with President Trump, you'll have no credibility. I'm not Michael Savage. I don't need to prove to you guys I have credibility. I think the credibility comes with the loyalty of standing by President Trump. Now, with all that being said, it's not like he has said or done things that I disagree with, and I'm keeping it from you. No, President Trump, he's never said or done anything I disagree with. He's never been wrong. And even when you think he's wrong, he ends up being right in the end, right? Oh, my God. Remember, I like people that don't get captured. Look how that helped him. I mean, he's amazing. He's amazing. But I'm not going to criticize President Trump on occasion just to look like I'm independent and all of that. I will never disagree nor criticize President Trump. So, and the rest of you, if you're already subscribed, please like the video. I hope you all have a great 4th of July. I'll be back live on the radio tomorrow morning. I just took this morning off, so I didn't have to get up quite so early and drive all the way to the radio station and back. I got a little extra sleep, and I thought I could use it, and I thought I deserved it. But hey, guys, thanks.